is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
And we're back here with another episode of The Breakdown on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Matt Hamilton. That's Chase Daniel. And Chase, the Chiefs, it looked like it was going to be an easy time in Germany. Ended up being a barn burner down to the very end, but they get the win. What impressed you most, or what's your biggest takeaway from what we saw from the Chiefs last Sunday?
Well, the Chiefs are able to win without scoring more than 14 points. They scored 14 points on offense, right? Like that's the biggest takeaway for me. It's that defense coming through at the end. Look, you have a 21-point lead in the first half, and people thought it was going to be a runaway victory, including myself. And then, Miami finds ways just to sort of get back into the rhythm and get back into the groove of the game. And all of a sudden, at the end of the game, you're an errant snap away from having a shot to the end zone on 4th and 10 to potentially tie the game. So wild to me how the Chiefs were able to do it. Look, the first drive of the game for the Chiefs, I was like, man, they're back. That's their offense, like big time drive, a lot of plays. And that's probably the thing that I take away really not only from this week, but we're at the halfway point of the season for the first 9 games is the big plays like they were the past 5 years are not there. They're harder to come by for the Chiefs. And I think that is ultimately what is holding the Chiefs offense back a little bit. And I don't necessarily think, or I don't necessarily know if it's all the Chiefs offense being bad. And I did a bunch more breakdown on some of their stuff. I think a little bit of it has to do with defenses around the league really starting to finally truly understand what the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes are doing on offense. I don't know, and I can't sit here and say, yeah, hey, it's just the quarterback room, or it's just that. Like, there's enough on tape now to make you start to think, hey, maybe, just maybe, defenses have found a way to not really slow down Mahomes because they're averaging 22, 23 points a game, but sort of find a way to like, hey, stop the big plays from happening. They're playing a lot closer games. So that's something to look forward to moving forward because that's something that I went back and I'm like, well, maybe it's just defenses catching on.
Yeah, and you're right. It did look like in the first half overall, they racked up 200 yards of offense. It looked like the Chiefs offense, we're used to seeing. But the second half, just 67 yards of offense. They didn't convert on third down at all. It was such a stark contrast. And it's not the only time we've seen this year. That were early on, it looks like they're clicking again, and then they run into problems in the second half. What do you think that can be attributed to?
Well, it's interesting to me because it comes back to the first point I said is saying that I think defenses have figured it out. I think this halftime adjustments from Vic Fangio really played into this game. I don't know if it was a thing where it was like, hey, Chiefs, we're comfortable with 21 points. There's no way. That's not how Andy Reid operates. And so I really think it is a fact that you just got to give Vic Fangio his flowers, man. Like, they had a really, really good plan. And I went into this game saying I really, really wanted to see some pressure taken off of these receivers and off of Patrick Mahomes and get Isaiah Pacheco and run game going. And they just couldn't do it for the most part. And it's got to be frustrating for Chiefs fans, but it's also going to be really frustrating for the offense because they just know they're a few games away from, I think, being like a breakaway. And if they get that offense remotely right, like, dude, they are, without a doubt, the team to beat in the National Football League because of that defense. And that's something also that I wanted to say as well is like, listen, she says, like, you have to be really excited about the fact that for the first time in Patrick Mahomes' career, you're not winning because of him. You're winning because of that defense. And that is and it's young defense too. It's a very young defense. Spags has that defense flying around. That's got to be a good feeling for Chiefs fans because they know eventually the offense is going to figure it out.
Exactly. Number 2 scoring defense in the league right now. Number 4 in total defense. And you're right. As this offense finds its momentum, this team is going to get scarier and scarier. Let's dig into some of the tape. We'll take a look at some of what was working early, what wasn't working later in the game. We'll go to a key third down here early in the game, 3rd and 5, and walk me through what stood out to you here because it looks like Mahomes is developing a little more trust with these young receivers.
Yeah, and especially Rashee Rice, he's on the inside. And all this is we call this money route. And all this money is, it's an inside choice route. The point guy on the bunch has a corner, and you're going to see Travis Kelce right here come on a shallow cross. And this is a perfect cover 4 beater, which is sort of what they're in there in like the sport cheat. They end up going down. And you see Travis Kelce here, he's open, right? He's open right now. And however, the Reid doesn't take him to Kelce first. And he probably knows right now that this defender's keying in on Kelce, but the defender's turn the other way. So if you throw it to Kelce, you probably get the first year, you probably get a good game. However, there's a bunch of green grass on this little choice route. And I love Rashee Rice's decision to break out. I like the fact that Patrick Mahomes is trusting him to break out and do the right thing, because this is a choice route. And a lot of times, unfortunately, receivers don't make the right choice. And he makes the correct choice here. We always say, hey, when there's green grass, break out, and then finishes it with an amazing catch as well.
Yeah, this is a huge moment in this game. Big third down, kind of pinned in their own end. It leads to a 13-play, 95-yard drive to get the Chiefs up 14-0. So big moment. If they end up punting there instead, this game could have gone very, very differently. And let's keep this moving here. We'll move on to the next play. The touchdown that ends up capping that 13-play, 95-yard drive. Jerick McKinnon, what'd you see here?
It's really, really similar to the play we just showed you. And instead of doing a corner route from the point, you're going to have a basic route, which is the in breaker. Look at all those red lines. It's like defenses don't even know what we're doing. But you look at McKinnon right here. He's just going to sneak out on a burst route. Okay, a burst route, you want to burst to the field, go up 4 yards. You're going to take a right turn. And really, Kelce's the one right here going to end up being almost like they're playing man coverage. They don't tell him to pick the guy, but he does a really good job knowing, hey, there's no way I'm getting the ball. There's 3 guys around me. Let me just run interference on McKinnon's guy. And then McKinnon just comes scot-free. This is a perfect play call down here for man coverage. All sorts of mesh routes. There's an out route. There's an in route. And all of a sudden, the defenses just lose them because there's so many people within that hash mark. And really, really good job here by Mahomes, taking 5, buying some time, stepping up and just saying, hey, I know for a fact that this is going to be wide open. And let me just dump it to the runner right here. But Kelce just runs interference right there, as you can see. But honestly, doesn't get called for a pick. So really good job by Travis Kelce on this play as well.
You know, I wonder if we're going to see a little bit more of this in the second half of the year as well. Because I feel like you kind of forget, McKinnon had 9 touchdown receptions last year. He was such a huge part of this passing game. It wasn't just the receiving core and Kelce. He's a big part of it. And I think as Pacheco's taken more of a role in that backfield, kind of grabbed the RB1 job by the horns, McKinnon's gotten lost in the shuffle at points.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get him involved, I mean, honestly didn't know he had 9 touchdowns. Like, why is he not getting the more touches? And that's the thing about these Andy Reid-led offenses, man. When somebody gets hot and somebody has a touchdown, like, okay, let's get it to him again. So watch him in the coming games, because I guarantee you they're going to see something they liked in this game, and maybe he might have lost trust, or maybe just not enough opportunities. You never know the dynamics in that one, but it'll be interesting to watch coming up.
And as we mentioned earlier, the second half, the Chiefs offense wasn't quite clicking. Let's dig into a little bit of that. Third and very, very long here. Chiefs get into a rough situation, 3rd and 20. What stood out to you on this one?
Well, the odds of completing a pass on 3rd and 20 that gets you the first down are like 10%, right? And everyone's human. Patrick Mahomes is human. This is what he's made his living on for 5 to 6 years, is extending plays, and they're running like a deep clear out with a deep dagger, but protection doesn't hold up. And this ends up being a sack fumble. It's never a good thing when you're turning the ball over, especially in a close defensive battle like this in the second half. And I don't think it's anything really Mahomes did, rather than I'm not seeing a running back really get out right now. He sees this dagger happen, but there's no underneath defenders or even receivers for him to throw to. That's what I look at and say, like, okay, now finally there's a running back out, but then you got white jerseys all over. So it's just like impossible for him to get to. And obviously, like, he doesn't really fumble a ton. They just got to protect that ball a little bit better. But this is just ultimately a play that he probably wants back and knows, hey, as soon as this left guard loses right here, just find Pacheco. Okay, Pacheco's doing that, and all of a sudden he tries to, and it's just bad time, bad place, especially with the momentum and the way the game was going.
And obviously, you don't want Mahomes to lose his aggressiveness, but
No.
do you change the way you play the position, knowing that you have the number 2 defense in the league on the other side, something he hasn't had? Should it affect your decision making a little bit here? Like, hey, even if I just throw the ball at Pacheco's feet, let's let our defense win us this game.
I think there's always that type of feeling in the back of quarterbacks' heads, but that's just not how Patrick Mahomes, Matt Nagy, and Andy Reid are wired. Like, they're never going to be, like, they're always going to be the aggressor. And that's what makes them special. So right here, it's just about mechanics. Just 2 hands on the ball and move it on.
Yep. And now the Chiefs head into a bye week, something historically Andy Reid is incredible. You know the record 27-4 after a bye in his career. You've been on his teams. What is it that he does during the bye week that makes him so successful? Because it's been with the Eagles, it's been with the Chiefs, it's been his whole career.
Yeah. Honestly, I wish I could give you some in-depth answer, but the answer is just like, it's just time and rest. That's all it is. Like, he gives his guys the entire week off. So they played in Germany. They probably didn't even come in. He said, hey, I'll see you next Monday. And they give you 6 full days off to sort of rest, reset. And if players want to come in and get a lift on their own, they can, but there's no meetings. And honestly, it's not only great for the players, it's really great for the coaches, because those coaches, the way they're game planning, it's long hours to sort of rest and reset. And what a perfect time, honestly, to have a bye week coming off a win right smack dab in the middle of the season, because this Chiefs team is going to make a big postseason push and a big postseason run. So it comes at a really, really perfect time. And there's really no secret sauce to it other than Andy Reid and co are going to go back. They're going to watch what worked. They're going to watch what didn't work. They're going to do more of what worked and less of what didn't work. It's not rocket science. He doesn't put a lot of emphasis on all that stuff. So they'll self-scout themselves and they'll move forward with a really good plan.
And you make a good point of the timing of this bye, because it not only comes right smack dab in the middle of the season, it comes after an international trip, which is something, I think we see usually the NFL tries to schedule it that way, but it hasn't been the case this year. The Bills came right back and played. The Jags came right back and played. Not the easiest thing to have to, reset your clock and get ready for another football game right away. But what's the biggest thing you want to see the Chiefs do in the second half of this season?
Well, I mean, the obvious answer is my answer. It's get the offense. Like, I'm not even going to say fixed, because fixed is not the right word, because it's not broken. It's not like they're just scoring 10 points a game. You're going to have to go. And I mean, listen, this is the way Mahomes' whole career has gone. You're always getting people's best shot. Teams are preparing a lot more for a Patrick Mahomes Chiefs game than any other quarterback in the league, because they want to make sure to stop him. So he's been getting his best shot his entire career from defensive coordinators and defenses. So you guys got to find a way, and I'm sure they're going to work on it. Hey, you might do something different on offense, but they're not going to change. They're not going to throw out stuff. They got to get into a rhythm, and they got to be able to be successful and gain that confidence moving forward. Even Mahomes said after this week, he was like, man, we got to get this offense fixed. It's not broken. Okay, it's just not what they're accustomed to. So they got to get into the lab and figure out how they're going to get that moving forward.
Yeah, 7th in total offense right now, 12th in scoring. And Chase, do you know who they have after the bye?
Who they got? What we got?
Eagles.
Oh, baby. Let's go. Big time game.
Can't wait for that. And we'll dig into that next week, dig into the matchup a little. Maybe we'll look at a little bit of Eagles defensive film since we're not getting any film from the Chiefs this week. So a lot of good things, obviously, they're doing there in Philly. The storylines there with Andy Reid as well, facing his former team, Super Bowl rematch, all of it. A lot going on there. So can't wait for that one. But for this week, Chiefs fans, try to enjoy the bye, enjoy some other football. Chase, thank you so much again for joining us. We'll be right back here next week to break it all down for you on KCSN.